guys all weather the storm okay last night?
Yeah, nothing up here. And
That's good.
see, did you get anything up in where your
Eh,
neighborhood?
Nothing any more than, say, an inch diameter branch.
Well, that's good then. I saw some of the some of the damage downtown this morning when we went out.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't far from here.
Yeah.
That whatever it was came through, and I think I heard it. When it got really really gnarly, and it did sound like a freight train.
Yeah.
Going
Someone
through.
apparently over on Chenault Ford Road has video, and you can see the twister in it.
Yeah, I saw the wall cloud, so there was definitely some rotation going on. Whether it actually touched down or not is a different thing. And, that's kind of after the fact. I do remember that FPU they interviewed Britt Dye, and he said that they had a number of poles, wooden poles snapped in half, and steel poles thrown to the ground.
Yeah, I think I saw like 7 of them.
Yeah,
that was a bunch.
And that's ultimately what led to a power outage at the hospital, which is
right.
A fairly serious thing.
Oh yeah.
So, but they actually did a really good job quickly getting that back. I think they had the power up by 6, so it was down no more than 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, they were just working on getting the rest of it at that point, but they got the hospital up relatively quickly.
Mm-hmm. Priority. So.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So it was good, and no injuries. That was the other good part of it.
Yeah, definitely. That was a very good thing last night. We were just going to bed when we got the warning. I'm like, okay, so we're not going to bed yet. We're going to wait this out and see where it's going.
I slept through every bit of it.
Yeah.
I did, except for the freight train. Because when the power went out, and I've got a bunch of UPSs here, and they kept the computers up for a little while, and they went out. And the cat crawled into bed and said, "Screw it, we're done." I agree. Yeah, nothing else to do. So yeah, dozed for a bit, and then something woke me up, and then it was a really loud noise.
Yeah.
So okay, but the thing is, maybe 20, 30 years ago, I would have reacted more affirmatively to preserve life and limb. At this point, I said, no, screw it. Just stay where it was. Whatever. You want to come through? I don't care. Jeez. So throw a tornado on that top of everything else. Why not?
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, how's it going, man?
All right. How are you?
Yep, hanging in there. We were just talking weather events.
It was an interesting night.
Yep. To be sure.
Windy today, even.
Yeah.
We tried to go fishing. Tried to go fishing today, and it was just blowing everywhere.
This thing says the gusts have been up to 30.
I can believe it.
So yeah. Hey, I mean, you try to cast and the hook doesn't actually move, right? It just stays there. What?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Especially if you didn't have a sinker on it.
Mm-hmm. And the fish are like, man, come on, we're right here. It's like being in Valheim, with the Vikings trying to fish it in the ocean in a storm, with this 30-foot waves and this little Viking longship going battering back and forth, and everybody standing up there with, okay, we can do this. Let's see here. So I guess we are doing trick this evening. Speaking of games, I guess, Logan, I owe you an apology. I thought I saw your message in your Discord concerning getting a head count. I had intended to be there, even though I was kind of half dragging, but didn't realize that you were expecting us to, click your count.
It fell apart anyway.
Yeah, looks like it did.
I'm going over here a minute. I'll let you drive, and I'll get your ice cream. I'm ready for it. He's got a presentation.
Okay, let's hear it. Speech.
So since it did fall apart, I'm thinking about running it for you lot. But still need a little bit of time to look up to get ready.
I think that's timely because I heard from Eric last night that he anticipates our other D&D game only has 3 games left. One, if we are really crazy and die immediately instead of in 3 games. So that means that our 3-week rotation will break soon. You know, we'll soon just have 2 games going instead of 3. So yeah, this is good. And the game that I don't know if you, Joe, and Chris know, he's talking about 5e and Ravenloft.
Cool.
All right.
All about some Ravenloft.
See, you have willing victims.
We'll just have to re-roll our characters for back to first level for him to start over.
Oh, that's fine. It's easy. Thank you, Character Mancer.
Yep. So he's going to start working on trying to get revamped to start.
I'll probably stick with that cleric that I rolled.
Yeah, I'm just saying we'll just go with what we had for me and you.
Yeah. I was kind of getting into the character, you know.
Yeah, well, we riffed for a little bit that one night we got on.
Yeah.
Goes, well, I am in Valheim. I've got a bunch of personal chests around to keep things from being used when it's they take craft from containers. So
the add-on that you have, yeah.
So it locks them. So I found a bunch of soft tissue in one of those. So I've got finished up crafting the stabs for Murdra, the protection staff, and leveling up her fire staff. And I'm also going to do the ice staff.
Ice staff. Do the shamans use? Is that one of the shaman abilities?
I have not seen a shaman use that I've noticed.
So the visual is that Moja's walking around with 3 staffs and juggling them constantly, right? And okay, shield staff, gonk, and then fire staff, gonk. So you dual wield the things, right?
Oh my! In the Saturday game, I've got a great bow. I've got a like laser rifle, a longbow.
We talk about the same thing. Laser rifle in Valheim, really?
This is the 5th edition.
Oh, okay. I got you. You switched on us with no warning, so your old brains take a moment to catch up. Well, all right. We got enough folks. We can plow ahead. And the rest of them, if they show up, they can show up. That's great. I'm sure he is taking a nap somewhere, and he might actually be involved with the APU stuff. Because if there was a lot of power down, I'm sure there's a ton of cable damage to cable infrastructure and fiber. He didn't actually go out there and, oh, well, never mind. I was giving your excuses, but you seem to have transcended them.
The fact he's muted.
Yeah.
Hello.
How goes?
Oh, not bad.
Yeah, we were all discussing the long night. We figured yours was probably the longest.
Did you have any fuss at the office from the wind/tornado that came through today?
I've got some stuff that's I'm going to need to go in early Monday morning to make sure that I've got a couple of things that were on UPSs that nothing critical, but they were on UPSs. The UPSs ran down. The office lost power.
No. Okay. I guess your question is how that happened, because it should be on the generator circuit.
Well, nothing in the head end went down. Well, actually, yes, something in the head end went down. Laura's switch went down,
Okay. Yeah.
which is the phones for, which is PoE for the phones that are over in that side of that corner of the room, and hers is not on the generator.
Yeah. Not the end of the world, but it would be nice to not take the phones down. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't seem like it was as bad as we were anticipating for you. You're not actually, going out there with the line crews and worrying about
No.
any of that stuff, or the cable or the fiber. So I'm sure those guys are busy. Ah, okay.
Had to check some stuff a couple of times throughout the night. I got a couple of calls about, will you check if these circuits have come back up? Will you check if these circuits have come back up? That sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what I figured. You're playing the HQ guy, hands in the nog. You missed, I think you and Stephen both missed. Logan has offered to, when not immediately, but this may work because you each said that our had enough. How's it going?
Not bad. How are y'all today?
Well, we seem to be alive. This is a reasonable state, I suppose.
Glad to hear it.
So, how are things in your neck of the woods?
I am recovering from my sunburn from last weekend. Doing good.
How'd you get it? Wait, I thought you never went outside. The accursed sun and the blackout, and all that stuff. What happened?
Case in point. Okay. Well, I did one of those ramp builds for the wheelchair people, and it was cold out, so I didn't think twice about it, But 7 hours out there with the sun, even though it's a cold sun, still tried to kill me. So
That's right.
My point remains.
Cold sun. Listen at you. You thought all these years you would have learned better. That accursed light bulb.
I've been telling people it's trying to kill us all. They never listen.
That if it makes you feel any better, whenever I go down to Florida and my brother's willing, we go inshore or near shore fishing. Occasionally deep, offshore deep water fishing, but it never fails. You're out there for hours, and despite the best plans and protection, I come back looking like a beet the next day and feel it for weeks.
Yeah.
But it's great. It's fishing. It's big fish when they bite. So sometimes it just has to be worth it.
That's why I used to buy the baby sunscreen when we went to Bonnaroo. That's what it took to keep me from burning, was the stuff you put on babies.
Yeah, like 9,000. Right.
What's sad is I had sunscreen in my car. Like I said, I just didn't even realize I was baking until
The
afterwards.
cold sun. Yeah,
Well, it's kind of like us today. I forgot to even pack the sunscreen with us.
and you wouldn't think, it's a reasonably moderate day. 75, I think, was our high. It was mild,
And the wind was blowing.
you're so comfortable. And there, nevertheless, was that accursed ball in the sky, just waiting for its next victim.
It's insidious.
It's insidious, sinister even. Well, let's see here. The Logan's announcement. He's already made it, so I'll repeat it since we have more folks here. He reports that we are foolishly hurtling to our demise in his 5e game. Actually, he didn't say that, but I'm pretty convinced we are. And that we probably have 2 or 3 games left in the Tomb of Annihilation campaign. Which the name says it all, right? What's at the end of the Tomb of Annihilation? ...
Sounds very pessimistic. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
So
we haven't found every hex on Cholt yet.
that's right. we are completionists after all. But Logan would like to run us through a 5e campaign in Ravenloft. So that seems like it would slot right in there. Logan said that he wasn't immediately ready, but then again, we're still
We're not quite dead.
marching to our demise in the Tomb of Annihilation. So we're not dead yet. You feel happy? So that's that.
So first level characters heading to their doom. Yeah.
In Ravenloft, yes, first level characters are probably heading to their doom.
Yeah.
That's okay. Make them like Doritos, you know. I'll show you what. More.
Yeah, if I can ever actually get out of work for 30 seconds, I'm going to pick up the DM or the Savage Worlds game and play around with the DM side of Roll20, because I have no clue how you guys do all that stuff, the woo-woo voodoo stuff you do on behind the screen. So
yeah, that's what Logan is trying to learn too. So we'll have to kind of help him along, just like I'm still learning it.
I
still have a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen out there floating that I've got campaigns for, but I don't have a bloody clue how to run Roll20. So,
you know, when it comes to running a campaign, we try too hard with Roll20 sometimes. I think maybe you just don't need it. You know, not for the level of detail that you're thinking about. You know, we can do Theater of the Mind just as well. Got a perfectly good. Yeah. So
with Savage Worlds, I just had to figure out the whole card system and all that they utilize.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit different than the standard roll for initiative system.
As long as the sheet supported, it should have an out for that built in.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be something we could use Roll24, even if we didn't use maps. You know, it's the character, the rolling and the cards. So it's all good.
They do have an official character sheet. I did look that up. That's a fairly recent addition, because when I first started looking at Roll20, they didn't have a official character sheet for Savage Worlds, but they finally picked one up.
All right. Okay, let me gather a couple of names here. In the middle of all this, my machine rebooted, and I hadn't saved the notes from the last game.
Yeah, I just had a power blip here. But thankfully, my internet stuff is all on battery backup.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a possible tornado come through downtown Fayetteville, actually. And power was out at the hospital for several hours, which was a big deal. But also here, and so all my equipment, despite the UPSs, went down. Let's see here. I had names.
I had hardly a blip of power loss.
It seems that this side of Main Street is on a different circuit.
Yep.
So, or a different set of circuits, I should say. So that if power is fine for you, it might be out here. And if it's out here, that'll be out at the courthouse and the city hall and the 911 center. If I go out on my porch, I can actually hear generators.
Yeah.
Typically, yeah. Because the 911 center, the school has their equipment up there with their own generator.
Mm.
So it all just kind of kicks in. Let's see. So on the away team that went to the station for negotiation, we had Eric's character and Dr. Mallory, and gathering the names of the NPCs. It was Johnson, I believe, was your security guy. Where the hell is my mouse? And let's see. Esther is the shuttle pilot. Let me find that other guy. And then the ambassador herself. So you're having this delightful conversation with the president of the largest of the various nations on this world, and had the unfortunate revelation that the world has decided to ally with Orions. Somebody want to share their screen, and then we'll get rolling.
Give me a sec.
All righty, there you go. So, Brennick, to the ambassador and those assembled there, and if you'll recall, you had left the shuttle pilot back with the shuttle. So Chief Baxter's back there with the shuttle. He invites you with great regret. You have placed yourselves in the jurisdiction of the Orion Syndicate. We invite you, again, with great regret, to be our guests for some period of time. And when he says this, the president kind of lowers his eyes. Obviously, he's not entirely comfortable with the situation. When Brennick says that, some Orion thugs show up. Please, your weapons. They're not as thuggish as Orions typically are, but they look the part. They're very much, all male. Some of them, half-dressed, leathers, the typical Orion pirate look. Unlike Brennick. Brennick, does not look like an Orion pirate. He's very, very slick, very polished. But these other guys, not so much. But they do. They come out to, the two security guys, Johnson and Lindsay, and, they hand over their. They didn't bring big, like Type 3 phasers, but they did have like Type 1s. So they hand them over. Glancing at you, Dawa. By the way, what do you indicate when they glance at you?
Well, I'm glancing at the ambassador.
The ambassador's staring at the president, trying to, because it would be clear to anyone here that if the locals hadn't agreed to this becoming part of the syndicate, none of this would be happening. So she is trying her best in the split second she has to kind of short circuit that, but with no effect. The president is not meeting her gaze, and so she looks at Brennick. What does this being a guest of yours entail? Nothing that you're not used to, Ambassador, I'm sure. We will provide you the finest of accommodations. And I'm sure your star fleet will be most eager to see you freed. At that word, she looks over at you, Dawa. Freed implies prisoner. What do you say or do to her glance at you? Because she seems to be querying, do we have a chance of getting out of this? 6 thugs.
That does appear to be the situation.
Yeah. It's not looking hopeful. So with that, she just nods and indicates cooperate. And I assume you pass that on.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Melry, you probably also have a phaser. It's standard issue for an away mission, even of this
Right.
sort. Do you hand it over as well? Okay. So all is handed over peacefully. Bradley smiles broadly and says, "There, that wasn't so bad." He turns to leave and says, "Just stay where you are. We will arrange for your accommodation shortly." And he and the president leave the room, leaving the thugs and the president's 2 goons there guarding you. They took your communicators as well, by the way, so all your gear. So what do you do?
When the communicators are moved a certain distance away from their paired belt buckle, do we get an automatic emergency warning on the ship?
You know that you would think that, with all of the trackers and Apple Tag stuff that exists today, that would be the case, but no.
Well, that's really unfortunate.
It kind of is. But let's talk about what's going on the ship. So we don't have the captain today. That's fine. Let's start with Logan and Stephen, your characters. Now remember, you deployed some probes when you arrived very early on because you were wanting to check out the Orson Wells and see what the hell it was up to. So you have a set of probes floating around, and you've been looking at things. So let's get some rolls from the two of you. All right. And we'll actually have you do this independently. It'll be control, science, both of you. Just 2 dice for, and assisted by the ship. And 2 dice for Logan and 3 dice for Stephen because of your sensor knack. The ship, let me find the ship. Let's see. Science sensors. So you get 1 D off of the ship as well. Science sensors. Okay. Okay. Go Logan. Go right. All right. We'll do Quinn's first. So Quinn, you were working with the probes. Looking around, and you can actually send probes further out in the system to kind of check things out. But the Delta Borealis folks, the pre-warp civilization there, when we say pre-warp, we don't necessarily mean the low tech.
Right.
They actually have a fairly sophisticated interplanetary system going on. They have bases, low population, no gravity. Think expanse, right? Established in their local asteroid belt, in strategic locations throughout the system, gas giants, resource collection points. They are expanding into their system and doing well. It's also clear, and Chris, you can do a assisted by the ship roll for Logan. That was a sensor science on the ship. It's also clear that they have problems. They have, like I said, it's a balkanization, multiple nations, all competing, both on the world below and presumably amongst these installations that are scattered around the system. And you see different types of ships, all non-warp capable. Some of them are armed with from a Starfleet perspective, very trivial weapons, like PPCs, low yield laser systems, things that would not dent a starship, but nonetheless are very deadly to each other. The role that you got, though, the thing that leaps out at you is not something of the Delta Broalans, but is actually something of Starfleet's. You remember that there was a major battle here that resulted in this. Not a year ago. There's a huge debris field in the vicinity of one of the gas giants. 5 or 6 starships wrecked, a similar number of Klingon vessels. It was all part of Starfleet's operation to push the Klingons out of the system because they had occupied it for the duration of the war. And then the centerpiece of that is right there in the middle of that shot. a Federation-class battleship, the Windsor. Well, when you send these probes out and happen to send one near the debris field, you notice that the Windsor is missing.
Look for traces of Windsor.
Now, what's that?
Look for traces of Windsor. See if there's,
Okay.
the wreckage.
Go ahead and make another roll there, and we'll see how well you do. Now, for Logan Spark, Gonzalez, you've been keeping track of the away team. And I guess I'll go ahead and make that ship roll for you. Let's see. Starship task roll. Just there. Okay, good. That's good enough. So everything looks cool. You see them go into what's probably a meeting room of some sort in the habitation ring that's rotating for some artificial gravity. And they're in there for 20 minutes, and they must be talking, and nobody's pinging, and nobody's indicating there's any trouble. Then you see other life forms show up and surround the away team and the negotiating table. And you see similarly, Gonzalez, you see a similar number of life forms show up in the dock where the shuttle has docked to the station, and enter the shuttle.
So you see the bad guys show up.
Not sure that they're bad guys, but it's really, if they were just talking, why would there be people like that just getting into our business, as it were?
Yeah.
So let's start with Logan. What do you do with that? And then we'll go back to the Windsor.
He reports it, he says.
Okay, so lacking our captain, we'll say that ZZ is in command right now. You're the NPC first officer.
Right.
She says, she turns to the clock and says, "Try to raise the shuttle."
Okay, what am I rolling?
Okay. It's a trivial thing for you. So let's call it control engineering, and call it 3 dice. Oh yeah. Okay. And you'd also get some assist from the ship, but don't worry about it. So that roll, you don't get a response from the shuttle, but we'll say that hey, you're a comms officer with some experience in cleverness, so you know which button to press to actually turn on the mic in the shuttle remotely. If you don't get a response from somebody, hey, it's right there. It's my shuttle. Click. What's going on in there? And that's when you hear the phaser fire. And then the sound of a body slumping over. Boom. You're going to regret that. Like hell, you're taking my shuttle. More phaser fire.
It's unfortunate.
I'm not putting up with any Orion thugs on this vessel. You get the hell off. There's a sound of another body hitting the ground, and the fight, and then silence, and bodies being dragged off.
Cap, we got a problem.
What happened?
There's a fight on the shuttle, and it doesn't sound like it went our way.
Ryan Syndicate.
You did hear the word Chief Baxter scream something about Orions. All right, no, I'm not going to let any Orion thugs take my shuttle.
I'll communicate that then.
Okay.
And
It's easy.
the other team had been surrounded. So yeah, the other team had been captured.
So ZZ hits the comms and calls down to the transporter room and says, lock on to our team and get them out of there. All right. So we'll let you roll for this, Chris. This is actually the transporter chief, but I'd like to have a PC do the roll. So this will be, we'll call it daring engineering. It's a daring engineering roll because you're kind of doing it under stress and it's quick.
Gotcha.
And then you'll be assisted by the ship.
All right.
And that'll be, they call it sensors engineering. See what you got. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So that was the target I was looking for. So a moment later, here's what you get. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, including the shuttle pilot. So in transporter room, and mind you, this has happened so fast that you don't have a security team down there yet. But they're coming. So the chief, get this stuff out of the way. There we go. Tim, remember Tim? Tim, Dorian? Okay. So Tim's down there, energizes, and gets 5 of the 6, Ananish, Erdine, Melry, Johnson, Lindsay. You were just sitting at a table. So you wonder what happens to people who are beamed out while seated? It's not something that Trek really adequately explores. But at least in this era, there's no reason for you to actually become standing when you materialize. So that does mean that whenever you finally beam in, you all fall backwards on your ass.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sorry. But when you do so, you realize you're in the transporter room aboard the Carson. It's like, hell yeah. Right? But then on the remaining pad, 2 people show up. One of them is Chief Baxter, who's apparently been hit by a phaser stun, or at least beaten enough to be incapacitated, and a very surprised-looking Orion who is dragging him down the hall. So as you guys fall to the Orion, whirls on Tim, who already has his phaser out, and why don't you roll that too, Chris?
Okay.
So, daring security. Chief Tim has been a transporter chief long enough to realize that there's no telling what shit's going to show up on the pad. So always be okay. Yeah. So sure enough, the Orion gets smacked in the face with the phaser stun and falls flat down right next to Baxter. All right. So those of you that just got rescued, what's your next move? We'll go back to the bridge here in a minute.
Re-equip my stuff. Go and get backups, whatever.
All right. So yeah, first thing, you got Baxter there, who's unconscious. So
Right.
You might check on him.
The first thing is check on Baxter, and second thing is, assuming Baxter is breathing.
Yes, I got my tricorder, so I
Calling the
couldn't really
bridge.
do anything aside from that until I get a little bit more information. So
you know the ABCs, despite the high tech, right? So airway, breathing, circulation. You can tell that he's unconscious. He's been hit in the head, possible concussion. He is breathing. He has a pulse. Bruises are beginning to appear. He was clearly in a fight, probably with this guy, who was twice his size. So, as Melry's doing that, Dawa, you go next to Tim, and Tim's like, "Lieutenant, are you okay?" And about that time, a couple of security guys are running in the door.
Well, I feel it's more important that I contact the bridge right away.
So yeah, you go up to the transporter console and bridge. And howdy, Mr. Pegg. You've missed the beginning of this.
Yeah, I'm not having a good evening right now with this machine.
Oh,
No, sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry to hear it.
You're having power issues too?
No, it wouldn't. It just kept crashing on load up.
Wow.
I'd get blue screen, blue screen, blue screen. I don't even know what's happening. It was running earlier today.
Wow. We've had a suspected tornado go through downtown Bedlam.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh.
Well, they It wasn't supposed. It went through Mississippi.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Jeez.
I saw that.
Yeah, that terrible what happened down there. Well, to summarize this, so you may remember where we left off last time. The
Yes.
away team essentially had been captured by Orions. So what just happened now is the ship, Gonzalez, on the bridge had been monitoring what was going on with the away team, just looking at the life signs, and saw them get surrounded and saw a strike team go into the shuttle and attack Chief Baxter. And meanwhile, Clock called the shuttle, didn't get a response, turned on the speaker and heard the fight. Heard Baxter going, "No, Orion scum are going to take my shuttle," and then promptly get beat the hell up. That's when they transported everybody out, and that's where you're at right now. You managed to get the away team out, plus one Orion that was dragging Baxter down the hall. And Tim, that was the thing. Chief Tim, the transporter chief, who's been a transporter chief for since the beginning of time practically, has seen so much shit show up in his pad that he always keeps a phaser handy. So he shot the Orion. So all is well on board the Carson at the moment. And you're about to get a call. So, Dawa, you call the bridge.
Bridge, this is Dawa. The locals have apparently made a deal with the Orion Syndicate.
Okay. What did they do next?
Well, they were in the middle of taking us prisoner.
Is the ambassador with you?
Yes.
She looks dazed, but she's getting back on her feet. Yes.
Any
all personnel all personnel are present and accounted for.
Any equipment lost?
They took our phasers, communicators, tricorders,
and the shuttle.
Shuttle's still on the ship.
Okay.
Bait station.
Change. I kind of make a general order. Change all comms channels. Comms are compromised.
It's trivial for you to do, Clock, so you just click, done.
Okay. Well, where are you? I'll come to you because we have to strategize now. Because essentially,
I'm in transporter room, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. And ZZ, who had, while you were off on your coffee break, Captain recommend we go to yellow alert, shields up to prevent any boarding actions.
Go ahead and upgrade to red alert.
Okay.
Passive scanning for any ship in the area. They came from somewhere.
And that's when, Stephen, you might reveal your surprise.
Pardon?
What you found out with the probes?
Matthew, it's been more than 5 minutes, so I forgot.
Okay. Let's see here. Let me pull it up again.
The ship graveyard.
Yes.
So you may remember from last week, there was a large battle here. And among the Federation ships lost was the Windsor, a Federation-class battleship. The 3 nacelle job right in the middle. Well, earlier, when Quinn was using the probes that you'd launched back at the beginning of all this to kind of check out the system, and finding that the locals are actually a fairly advanced civilization. They have outposts scattered here and there and everywhere, just not war capable. She discovers that the Windsor is missing from the ship graveyard.
Not good. And if the Orion Syndicate is working with them, God only knows. Well, I tell them to keep passive scanning, look for anything cloaked. XO has the con for now, and I head down to the teleport room.
All right, so there's a migration down to the meeting room, and you have that assemblage of the seniors. That happens very often. That'll be in the upper left. You have an Orion prisoner. The guy that came in with that was Dragon Chief Baxter. He's in sick bay, but he just got stunned by a phaser. He's not hurt at all. They can bring him around anytime.
No, we'll keep him under for now.
And another quick note on this is you haven't heard anything from Broalans or the Orions, since your great escape. You thought they might have said, hailed you or said something, but not a peep.
Well, they got their point across. For all we know, they're probably assuming they just said, kind of curly bill. Okay, bye.
Well, honestly, I think what it is the Orions are showing that they control this planet, and we are not welcome.
Yeah.
However,
ZZ said if they have actually made an agreement with the locals, that is binding on us.
truth. However, they attacked an ambassador, an unarmed ambassador. Members of my crew stole one of my shuttles, and I mean, until we find the actual ship itself, they have stolen a lot of Federation technology. They may be work capable very soon, and with the Orion's help, they're going to be a hub for piracy. And this is already a very sketchy landscape in this sector, to say the least. They're going to, who knows what they might do? They may go off and try and get revenge on the Klingons and start a whole new mess.
Oh, communist proliferation, domino effect.
And the other thing, too, is that we've talked to, 3 different individuals from this planet, 2 supposed leaders, but not a unified leadership. They're still factions. So one faction may be doing deals with Orion. They don't speak for the whole of the planet. Who is to say they're not, the Orion's not going to use them to take over the planet by force and subjugation, and they'll be using our equipment to do it.
And at that, Anadish, the ambassador, nods and says, that seems to be the most likely scenario here. They've won over the most powerful nations and can use them to bully the rest.
So I don't think we're quite done here. They have caught us unawares and blunted our nose, but we are not done here. We'll send word up to Starbase, tell them what's what. We'll wait for advisement. But until then, we'll continue to check their comms from the planet. Keep an eye out for any unknown ships out there. May try and get a hold of this Captain General Benrage, see what he knows of President Anor, and see what we can gauge of this situation, and hopefully we can stop it from getting out of hand.
All right, so that sounds like a lot of work for a lot of you. We'll start with Clock, the monitoring comms. Now, Carson is just sitting there, shields up. You are, with the tech that the Broalans have, you are perfectly safe from anything they can throw at you, up to and including nuclear weapons. With your shields up, yeah, you're fine. The Orions, maybe not. It depends on what they got. And you're right, they had to get here somehow, but where is it? What is it? Orion, what you know about Orions in this time and age is that they tend to have smaller, faster ships, good for raiding, good for piracy, interceptions, that sort of thing. They tend to pick in the weak. So they might tangle with the Federation scout, but even that is not necessarily something Orions are, they don't want to pick a fight with the Federation knowing that you have friends. You got the Excalibur and 3 destroyers that are just a week away. So they might think twice about actually attacking you. Although, they didn't seem to think twice about taking a small away party with an ambassador hostage. It's business. So, haven't heard a peep from them, but there's a lot of comms traffic going on. So, Clock, why don't you roll it? Let's see what you see. All right.
Am I rolling control engineering again?
Yeah. Along with your assisted by the ship. So basically the roll that you just did. And let's see that ship.
I was supposed to roll 3. Not that it helped all that much, but
So that really just 2, because you only get 1 off the ship. Still, this is what you get. So yeah, there's a lot of comms traffic between this orbital station and the surface. Basically, orders passing back and forth. It is encrypted. But it's encrypted in such a way that's trivial for the Carson's computers to hack. It's low tech. You have essentially faster than light quantum type computers, and they can beat RSA 2058 without breaking a sweat. So yeah, you get basically perfect view into the communications at the highest levels. Planet side. And the first set of orders are that to send up interceptors to surround the Carson. And that is from not one of the locals. That's from Brennick, ordering the local Space Command, the Captain General, to do that. The Captain General responds that they've analyzed the Carson, and the Carson could sneeze in the general direction of anything we have and destroy it. There is nothing we have that will be a threat to them, with respect. There's one thing I want to point out. This conversation, it's video. So you have Brennick and you have the Captain General. But standing behind the Captain General, not speaking, is this lady. Very much, in effect, looking over his shoulder. Brennick is insistent. You must make a stand against these Federation, or they will not respect you. And the Captain General responds, I think the Federation is more intelligent than you make them out to be. They would look at an effort by us to defend ourselves with our technology as laughable and take it for what it is, desperation. He's very calm and collected, and doesn't seem to be intimidated by these Orions at all, which is strange because the Orions have the similar technological advantage on him that we do. Brennick says, fine. And then at that point, the Orion female behind the Captain General says, don't worry yourself, Brennick. I will see to it. As you wish, my lady. And that's that conversation. You don't know what happens after that. Another conversation. The president, Aseni, is talking to some of his compatriots, other leaders of major nations, and trying to explain the situation. And he's very much a diplomat. He tries to pad it in soft, flowery language that the Orions attempted to make the Federations comfortable by offering them accommodations here, and the Federation took offense to it. Well, we all know that's not the whole story, but that's what he tells them. But these other nations' leaders have dealt with this man so long through different wars that they see through it. Are you saying that the Syndicate made a move on the Federation? One of the other leaders accuses. And Aseni says, why no? the Federation quite deftly extricated themselves. So what move was there to make? I see. So are you saying then that the Federation is about to attack the Orions? And Aseni again shakes his head. No, he does not know where they are. Do we? Aseni doesn't answer. I have doubts about this accord, Honor. And in a perfect bluntness, Aseni says, as do I. But I can't speak of it now. Think of where I am. And indeed, think of where he is, alone, isolated on a space station. That's that conversation. So it seems that the leaders of this world even have their own doubts and suspicions. And perhaps Aseni himself is a bit less cooperative than he lets on. And finally, and you had asked earlier about the Windsor, Quinn, send that probe into the debris field to try to see what happened to it.
Right.
So there's a battleship-sized hole in the debris field. You know, the debris field's there, and then there's not debris, and then there's more debris field. So clearly, it was there. But how did it get out? So you did make a roll on that earlier. So what you see is that there was clearly a recovery effort, but a low-tech one. You see low-tech thruster pods, not impulse power, but more like hydrogen burning thrusters.
Right.
You see that a narrow corridor was cleared for the wreck to be towed out, and after that, it looks like it headed on an orbital path towards this world here. You don't know how long ago that was, but yeah, it looks like the locals moved it.
Right.
Is the evidence that you're seeing?
Well, do I predict if try to predict where it was and do scans there and report that. Good for them, by the way.
They're clever. The locals. You should get the idea by now that they're low tech, but they're not idiots and they're not pushovers.
Right.
They held fast against the Klingon occupation for nearly 2 years. So, these guys are something. But they're also very much outgunned. Even right now, even with just the Carson sitting here. So, what do you want to do with that information?
A stealthy little probe along that path.
Let's get a roll from you. Now, your probes are impulse powered. They can zip around the system. Unlike, the locals who have to, kind of thrust and accelerate and decelerate and all that good stuff. Think Traveler, actually.
Right.
Okay, so let's get an appropriate roll to see if you can track that down. And then while you're rolling that, Gonzalez is looking for Orions. So let's get a sensor roll from you again. This will be control science assisted by the ship, which would be sensors science. It's the best possible roll you can get off the ship. That'll actually be the same roll that you do, except you get your bonus to sensors on your personal roll.
You roll that one.
Okay. Hey, Chris, are you doing the... yeah, okay. There you go. Perfect. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Gee, thanks, ship.
Mm.
Quinn, here's what you get. So based off of that, and you're working with the Vulcan navigator to try to work out the physics of it, the orbital path that it had to take, because that will determine when this happened, right?
Right.
It takes you about an hour, but you figure it out. The Windsor was moved here probably a month ago, and it's here somewhere around the world you're orbiting right now. Now, Gonzalez, you're searching for other ships. Of course, you have one, the Orson Welles, and she seems pretty oblivious to what's going on. The Orson Welles still docked with Station Molly. You see, there's still transporter activity to and from the surface, presumably trading those replicated rubies for the valuables of the world. But aside from that, all you can detect are the locals. Their ships going from here out system and to a base that is on that moon up here. You do not detect other ships or energy signatures. Yeah, this moon up here. They've got a base up there. Space 1999. All right. So what do you all want to do with that information?
Definitely scout out that moon for sure.
Let me see if we can get this real quick.
Well, Federation ships don't have stealth, so look for her signatures and IFF transponders, signals that would be coming from a Federation ship.
Okay. That would be, let's see, you and Clock. No, that's their moon base. It's not huge. It's appropriate for their tech level, right? And it's not, their moon is tiny compared to our moon. It's essentially a large asteroid size of Ceres. So a lot of what they have is underground. They burrow down, but they have enough surface facilities, for docking, landing, moving around. Gravity is maybe 1/10 of a G, so don't jump high. Or if you like that sort of thing, jump high and be prepared for some rocket assist to get back. But there you go. They have a moon base. Okay, so let's see, Clock. You're going to be looking for energy signatures, and let's say Gonzalez. We'll give you one more shot to scan for ships with Quinn's help. So Gonzalez, you get to roll 2 dice plus the ship, and then Quinn, you get to roll 2 dice. Your 1 dice is +1, and then Clock, same roll you've been doing for your comms, 2 dice plus the ship assist, just what you've been rolling, and to see what everybody gets. Okay, I'm liking this. Okay, let's see here. You find the tokens. Where are the tokens? This problem with having all these token sets is you refine what you want. Yeah, oh well. I'll worry about it later. Okay, so all of this has taken like 4 or 5 hours of pretty hard work. Just digging over sensors and looking after this and that and the other, tracking these dozens of ships that they have and figuring out where they've been, where they're going. But this is the sort of work that the Carson shines at. This is exactly what the scout and the computers and the sensors are meant to do, to figure this stuff out. But nonetheless, after several hours, Belmont, you start to get some results from all these various departments doing these scans. And let's see, here we go. So pardon my drawing. You don't find signs of Federation energy signatures, IFFs, such like that, Clock. But you do find that there is an unusually high level of communication between the moon base and the ground station. the Space Command Station where the Captain General lives. Again, you're able to crack it. And even then, they're speaking in codes and talking about project this and project that. So after listening to them for a while, they're working on something big at the moon base. It's very clear that what they're needing from the surface is personnel more than anything because of the size of the project that they're working on. And to kind of verify that, Gonzalez, again, you don't find signs of the Windsor anywhere nearby, but you do see something very interesting. About 10 kilometers away from the moon base is a crater that is not natural. And by that, your scan of the area around the moon base indicates that there's a crater that's about 500 meters in diameter, 10 meters deep, and it looks way too regular to have been something created by something smashing into the rock. It looks like it was excavated.
Found it.
And no, you don't find any signs of an Orion ship, unfortunately. But what does happen is, Clock, you recall the conversation you overheard between the Orions and the Captain General, essentially ordering him to send up interceptors, to surround the Carson. He declined, but about 2 hours after that conversation, it seems to happen anyway. You detect about 5 launches of small vessels from the surface, and they orbit up and surround the Carson. No comms, and they keep a respectful distance. They're about 10 kilometers away. Your sensor scans of them are as predicted. These are warships by the local definition, armed with missiles and low-powered lasers and PPCs. They can do absolutely nothing against the Carson with their shields up. And in fact, notably for you, Captain Belmont, all 5 ships, as soon as they arrived, turned around and pointed their primary weapons away from the Carson and have not armed them. So it appears that the Captain General followed the letter of his orders, but not the spirit of his orders.
Well, we'll still stay at red alert, but standing order to not fire upon those ships. I'm more curious about what we just found out about this little crater. But leave a little room for diplomacy with the president, Anor, see what he's up to. Because I want my shuttle back. And my track orders, and my comms, and my phasers. I had to sign that out through supply. They're not going to believe this crap.
And you don't want to be talking to the quartermaster on board this ship. He's a mean fella.
Yeah, I don't want to sign. I don't want to have to pay for those losses.
All right, so you call him up.
As soon as I see him, I go, President Anor, I'm glad I caught you at a good time. I disappear. No, I have a few requests of you, if you'd be so inclined to listen.
He seems actually a bit, on edge.
I keep going. It's like, I hope I didn't get you at a bad time. If you have guests in the room, I'll give you time to shoo them out, or they can stay. It means nothing to me.
He doesn't break eye contact, but Gonzalez, you do a scan of where the president is, and indeed there are like 4 other life forms in the room with him, off camera. Orions.
So I don't break stride. I go, oh, I'm sorry that my ambassadorial team was well, what's a good word to say it? Assaulted.
That
But
was not our intent.
well, I know that's not your intent, sir. Talking about your guests that you have now, I will put past crimes behind us if I can have my equipment, my people's equipment, returned to me, including our shuttle, and I will give back an unfortunate member that of the Orions that was unfortunately teleported back to my ship, assaulting one of my crew members. Well, but I will gladly give him back for my shuttle and my equipment. And I'll forgive these transgressions, and we can talk more diplomatically and more on even foot.
So this is what happens. Aseni, immediately as soon as you finish, says, "At once, we will return these items," and then the comms go off. And Clock, he didn't cut off the comms.
I look at Clock. Are we on mute? They can't hear us, right?
We are now, and I don't think they're going to hear us anyway because somebody didn't like what he was saying.
That guy's full of shit. We ain't getting that back. I'll guarantee those Orions have already taken apart all the tricorders and comms. Probably hand the phasers off to a few caps.
A moment later, Aseni comes back. We may have some difficulties returning some of the equipment.
Naturally.
Apparently the shuttlecraft has sustained some damage and is not operable, I am told.
I see. Well, that's most unfortunate.
Is this illegal chop shop?
I mean, you can't leave anything in this sector alone for 5 minutes. It'll be on frickin' blocks, man. Stole my rims.
They're the Star Trek version of Jawas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lieutenant. No, I'd give him no reaction. I go, well, that's unfortunate news to hear.
And a plasma conduit for you, and a plasma conduit for you.
Warp coils, everyone, warp coils. Make them into wind chimes.
Sorry to hear that my shuttlecraft was damaged. But you can give me a brief estimate of the damage. We'll see if a deal can be made.
Unfortunately, I am told that your technology is quite beyond our ability to repair.
Well, it's beyond your ability, but certainly not above the Orions you have there.
If they were of such a mind to repair it, I'm sure that is true.
Well, for now, we'll let it sit there. I have no use for a broken shuttlecraft. But as for you and me, I am, what's a good word to say, not happy with the situation we find ourselves in. Now, I can't, attest to deals made before our arrival, but the treatment that my ambassador received was, unwarranted, unwelcomed, and unnecessary for that matter. This is something we may discuss later on, but for now, I don't care that I have several of your interceptors surrounding me. They mean nothing to me. What I'm concerned about is that there's a few things that we have discovered while sitting here before we've even spoken that we will investigate further, whether you like it or not. And if anything that we find violates any laws in this sector in Starfleet or would pose a threat to continuously bring back the Klingon War, well, we will have to take action. So, until then, I'll leave you alone. Have a good rest of your day, President Anor. And I cut the feed on my end.
TTFN.
Okay, so that is done. What's your next move?
Scan our shuttle. I want to see if there's anyone on it or in it.
I'm not going to make you roll. There are 2 life forms aboard Orion. So you call up Tim, and he waits long enough for a security team to show up. You can be
Good
there,
man.
and beams them off. And as with everybody else that was seated at the conference table, they fall on their asses because they were seated at the pilot and co-pilot stations. And don't even get a chance to stand up as they're immediately stunned by Dawa security people. We have them, Captain.
Thank you. Good work. Put them in the brig with the other one.
Easily.
We'll have some interrogating to do later. How's our scanning looking?
So you've basically gotten everything you're going to get from scanning. You don't find signs of an Orion ship or any other starship in the area. The big anomaly was the artificial crater near their moon base. And, of course, the intercepted comms that you've had amongst the leadership.
So, I mean, I'll keep that one scanner at that moon base, because that crater, if you're hiding something big, that would be it. We would have seen it on the planet if he was anywhere there. And we'll keep our passive scanners already in the sector going just in case Orions call for backup. And I guess at this point, I'm going to call Starbase and inform the Commodore.
So you call up Commodore Manners, and something that may not have been apparent the last time you dealt with her is probably very apparent to you right now. She is not aggressive towards you. You remember that all of your interactions to her up until the bombing, the threat on her life, she was basically a bitch. But now, not so much. She's much calmer, much, yet, yes, Captain, what can I do for you? And it's like, wow, where did you put Manners? Manners has manners.
So I'm actually taken aback at how she reacts, because it's like, this a trap? What is this? But then, quickly regain composure. So I just, Commodore, I'm just giving you an updated situation report on Delta Broalans 5. The ambassador made contact with the people of this planet. They were invited and then quickly attacked by members of Orion. And there's some more ongoing.
Orions.
Yes. So there's we're going to keep you informed as we find it, but it seems that these individuals have been plundering from the local space graveyard, and we can neither confirm nor deny where a certain ship is that was lost here. And then, of course, tell her, the Windsor, but it's not there, and obviously was taken by them. We don't know where it could be or what they're using it for, but if the Orions are involved, it can't be good. They have seized one of our shuttles and several of our tricorders and comms, but I do have 3 of them in my brig right now.
It seems you may be in something of a standoff.
Yes, indeed.
So she glances off camera. Would you like some backup? The Agrippa's still here. And kind of on camera, Enola waves at you.
And I go, well, Commodore, if you feel that it's safe enough for you to part with Commander Yola and her ship, I'm more than willing to have the help. Maybe a show of force may put some perspective to these people or play their hand. But if it's your orders, ma'am, I'll take the company.
So Manners looks over at, all right, I can have the Agrippa underway in 2 hours. It'll take us several days to get there. How much of a hurry do we need to be?
Take your time.
All right. Several days then. Now, what you finally get from that interaction and Manners, she just looks defeated, drained, tired. Everything that's happened aboard the starbase, and she had been fighting so hard, to keep this thing on schedule, to get the thing rebuilt. And now this other stuff's coming up, and maybe it's a bit much for her. And seems to be willing to take things more in perspective. So she says, I still feel the threat here. I think you understand what I'm speaking of. But we can't allow what's going on there to propagate. So I feel that the Agrippa is probably better placed with you.
Well,
And
as soon as we're done here, we'll send her straight back to you, man.
I'll call Captain Harris after we talk to confirm that, but I'm sure he'll agree. Do you need anything else from us?
No, ma'am, we're fine. We're just keeping you abreast of the situation and also checking in on things back at Starbase.
She looks over at Enola again, and it hasn't gotten worse, but it hasn't gotten better. I'll put it that way.
No, it's the same here, ma'am. And hopefully things get better when the Agrippa arrive.
Very good. Manners out.
Commodore?
Well, okay, that's a bit of a surprise.
So once I'm done with the Commodore, I have not talked to Ambassador Anish at all. I have no idea how she's feeling because this is probably the first time in a long time that she's had hands laid on her.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to do a welfare check on her, see what she thinks about all this.
Well, she was in sick bay for a while, just about 20 or 30 minutes after getting transported back over because, well, she fell on her ass and she's quite old. So there was some discomfort, but nothing that the docs couldn't take care of in good order. What she thinks of it is she has similar thoughts to what you have, in that the Orions are using this opportunity to muscle their way in and establish a presence in the sector, using Federation law against us. Because if indeed this were a legitimate treaty with the Orion Syndicate, we would be bound by the decision of the local government. Now, the fact that they're so aggressive in, trying to take us hostage, she kind of wonders what their goals really are. If their goal was to take the planet and then use it as a base, okay, that's fine. Here, the Federation shows up, kindly showed them the door, and then proceed with their plans. But no, that's not what they did. They tried to go a step further and take the Federation ambassador and parts of your crew hostage, presumably with the idea of selling them off later. That is not strategic thinking.
Well, I haven't dealt much with pirates or smugglers, but I think it was definitely a show of force. They're outgunned, even with this ship. If they have a ship out there, I can't find it. They're on their own. So, extreme show of force, good offense. A good defense is a great offense. Taking you hostage, our focus from looking for their capabilities out here would immediately be removed to trying to get you back. You're an ambassador. You're important. Me getting my crew members back. Equipment. But I'm not getting that equipment back. I think their backs are against the wall. And I think they're doing something that most pirates and smugglers don't typically do, and that's making a home. A planet that they can control. Yeah, there's hubs of space villainy and piracy out there, but not a whole planet.
Well, the syndicate does control worlds upon worlds, but they do it loosely, as you say. There is no such thing as there is a planet called Orion, a homeworld for them, but it's just the one. They don't have strong ties amongst their various clans, and I think that's the key, is to try to identify which clan we're dealing with, what their motivations truly are, because you have hit on something. They may be acting aggressively because that is the only way they can act, given the resources at their disposal. But we can't assume that. Orions can field some very capable ships.
Indeed. So for right now, we're not being too overly aggressive. The only thing I would ask of you, if you're up for it, is they're trying to use Federation law against us, but what can we use against them?
Well, plenty. And I assume at this point you kind of get fully brief her on everything that you've heard.
Yes, she's a high-ranking member of the Federation on my ship that was attacked. I'll full briefs.
All right. So about 20, 30 minutes later, you've talked it over, including the intercepts between the leaders of the locals and your suspicions about the moon base and the Windsor. She says that right there would be the primary thing, the Windsor. The Windsor is, even though she was classified as destroyed and evacuated, and later a recovery team went in and was supposed to have recovered, important tech. That's the way that we treat these things in war. The Windsor is still our property. It belongs to the Federation. Now, we don't have a treaty with Broalans to that effect, but the Orions are well aware of Starfleet's insistence that particularly large capital ships not wander off. So that, I think, is probably our best bet. If we can link the Windsor to the Orions, then we have something to work with. Now, what's going on the planet? We have we have to be careful not to dance around the Prime Directive. Now, I think the Federation officially thinks that the Prime Directive is pretty much out the window when it comes to Delta Borealis because of the war. They were occupied by an aggressor that was warp capable through no fault of their own. And we liberated them in part to remove the Klingon presence from our space, but also to free Delta Borealis itself as a humanitarian gesture. The Delta Borealans never really got that message because we were so involved with the war and we're so concerned about the Prime Directive that we didn't take the opportunity to follow up immediately with them. So in that vacuum, the Orions walk in. But neither have the Orions truly established a legitimate presence. They are operating through coercion, as they always do. And apparently they haven't even managed to infiltrate all of the major nations on the planet. Now, we might work, nations against each other, but that's not how we operate. Our ultimate goal here is to shine light, to make sure that the Delta Broalans know what they're getting into with the Orions and have a reasonable chance of making a informed decision without the threat of the Orions' guns at their heads or whatever else the Orions might be doing. That's going to be a difficult thing to accomplish, but I think the Delta Broalans are perhaps most of the way there themselves because of their experience with the Klingons. They seem to be resisting the Orions the same way they resisted the Klingon occupation. We just need to help them.
I think I might have an idea how to do all that. Well, if anything else comes to mind, please meet me on the bridge. We can discuss it.
Thank you, Captain.
So I'm going to head back up to the bridge and kind of actually meeting room with the chiefs. So I have an idea.
Okay. So you get everybody back in the meeting room again. What's the subject of the moment?
So right now, to resolve this situation, we need to get my cat's tail on my face, is to somehow find the Windsor and link it to the illicit activity of the Orions and how that will affect this planet when it comes to Federation law.
It's like you have a triple there, actually. You know,
They just fell out the vent. According to our sensors,
This idea, Cap, it's the cat's ass.
yeah, it's our mascot from the Carson. No one got the briefs. Anyway, but I lay out my thoughts, which is I believe the Windsor is being hidden on that moon or that fake crater. It's not active yet, but I'm pretty sure it's being stashed there. Now, if we can for sure ping, that's it. That's half the equation for this situation. What are y'all's thoughts?
Oh, we could rattle 3 or 4 cages at once. And
or triples.
yeah.
We arm up and waste a probe, blast it in the crater, and see what chunks come out.
So aggressive like that because we don't want to kill anybody.
It's right next to a moon base, and as far as we can tell, that's not Orion base. That's the actual inhabitants of this sector.
I'll still say we need to shoot one close enough to it to scan it.
Indeed, but
you might not even need to, if you wanted to, if we can't get anything on the sensors, even with a close pass from a
drone,
a probe, we may be able to get something on the geologic scanners based on an old trick they used for determining the internal composition of Earth Moon. They set down sensors on the moon itself, and then they crashed the empty remains of the rockets that they used to get up there into the moon and used the seismic waves to determine the internal composition.
Use the thumpers, Muad'Dib. The thumpers.
Yes.
We've probably got enough stuff on here with a closed pass. We could probably scan it ourselves.
And at that point, Quinn says that she's tried that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the various rules she's been making. Yeah, she's unable to scan into or beyond the surface of that crater, which was even more suspicious.
So, best bet is you can't do it from afar. Might have to do it up close, personal, which is risky. Now,
like I'm saying, drop one probe on the surface, set up for seismological scanning, and then well away from the base, perhaps even on the other side of the moon, we hit it with another one hit it with another probe at high speed, and we see the whole moon should ring like a bell.
Cap's suggestion we sneak down there with just an away team and see what we can find.
That's possible too.
Well, we can do a bit of both because I may have a way to BS our way over to that moon to do it. These people are deathly afraid of the Klingons coming back. we can make our scanner over there go inert, crash. Say this is a typical stratagem of Klingon vessels in the area. We're just going to go investigate, be diplomatic, peaceful, and just say we're moving over there in case of a possible intercept. We'll save face with their people. Same time, we can do a quick low pass with scanners to deep dive on the moon and send an away team.
All of the above. Okay, so let me see if I understand the plan. Go back over here. So you start off by what Dawa was talking about, the passive probe on one side, and then just an active smack it in the other side of the moon to get it ringing.
Yes.
Use that while you're gathering the data from that. Use that as an excuse to kind of move the Carson over there.
Correct.
Use the other grab thing. Okay, here we go.
And before we even move, we actually will hail Captain General Nraje and be like, we were picking up something on scanners that might possibly be a bird of prey. Just to, alert your interceptor fighters here that we're about to move.
Okay, just get everybody in the loop. And then you get over there and deal with whatever you found from the seismic. You follow up perhaps with an away team if you choose.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start with the probes. So that'll be Quinn. And this is not a scanner roll. This is you landing. And you always wanted to crash one of these, right?
All right.
So just roll control science, 2 dice, and then assisted by the ship, what you've been rolling, control science.
Control science, 2 dice.
And sensor science of the ship. Let's see what you get. Okay. And no help from the ship. Okay. Thanks, ship. Alrighty. So probe 1, you kind of gently land one away from the moon base in this crater. You don't have to land it at the crater, right? For Dawa's trick to work. It just has to be where it can listen to the shock waves going through the moon.
Let me re-roll one of those and try to get at least one success.
Okay. All right. Fine. So when you ring the moon, it sounds like an F sharp. Okay. So sure enough, you land the one probe, and then the other probe you go out of ways, and you don't want to do, the full near light speed impact on a moon this size because you're in danger of breaking it. So you have to kind of modulate it, but sure enough, you get it going at a good clip, and smack, bam, and the huge. That you can see the light of the impact from the planet's surface, on the night side, and it's like everybody's like, "Ooh, that was a big impact." And the data starts coming in from the other probe. Meanwhile, the captain calls up the Captain General, and you had that quick conversation. Let's see you roll. Let's see. Here we are. This is going to be Insight Command. As you're talking to the Captain General to convince him of what you have, of your intentions here.
All right. And I have diplomacy as a focus.
So you'll get that. Add your die.
All right.
Good enough. And it's good enough. You only need a 1 for this one because the Captain General, as I think you know by now, is cooperative. He does not like the Orions hanging out in his command center. So he says, Carson, I certainly understand your concerns, and it's appreciated. So please do investigate. Our interceptors can't keep up with you at impulse speed, so we will ask them to return to base. There are other interceptors at the moon base that will intercept eventually. Just be ready for them. Very cooperative. non-confrontational response. Basically, the Captain General says, yeah, sure, go for it. And no need to roll. You maneuver the Carson over to the moon. The geological results. Let's see, Gonzalez, you're the science officer. So you get to figure out what the probe's telling you. This is going to be reason, science, and it'll be assisted by the ship. The ship, see here, call it sensors and science. Actually, computer and science. See what you got. Okay. And go ahead and roll the ship as well.
Yeah, I'm working on it. Just trying to get the right combo.
All right, here we go. Let's see if I can find it for you. And yeah, I guess I got to use this one. So the computer chews on it for about, a good while. Remember, TOS computers like the beep, 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 the mechanical sounds, really good stuff. And eventually, I wonder if this is the right one, but we'll find out. You see two ships.
Mm.
Yes, one of them is the Windsor. The enemies of the Federation call it a dreadnought. The Federation doesn't like that term. We just call it a battleship. But you also see this, an Orion Raider, right next to her, in what is essentially a huge hangar under the surface of the moon. And that's where we'll pause it. Click.
Nice.
Hey, you got to dig a ship with a flame decal on it.
Makes it go faster.
Also, it gets confusing when it catches fire. What's really flames and what's paint?
Yes, Chief, bring me my flaming paint so they don't see us burned in space. All right. Everybody, thank you. And we will do this sometime.
I will be absent next week.
I was really hoping someone would ask Calvin for opinion on what to do about the ships that were surrounding us.
Hey, I've got a whole room full of these things, Yeah, we can do that.
He was going to suggest musical chair intimidation tactic, where you beam the captain of each of those ships one ship to the left.
I'm not gonna lie, that literally crossed my mind at one point when I beamed up the two Orion pirates. I was like, this might be fun. I get to be an alien abductor.
Yeah, we're going to put all power to RCS and just do a continuous phaser beam and just death blossom all of them.
Orion pirates and probe them.
They'll be talking about it in years to come. I never want to go aboard a Federation starship again.
So you see, Commodore, I technically didn't violate anything.
Oh God!
I technically didn't violate any directives. Just these people. Wait.
We'd end up with the only two Orion rednecks in the world going down to their planet going, I saw a giant beam, and then there were lights flashing everywhere. And then these weird looking aliens probed my butt.
What was that movie? The Jim and Earl Fight Evil. That's our Orion heroes, fighting the Federation. Yeah.
Tucker and Dale, yeah.
Tucker and Dale, yeah. Thanks.
Good film.
That was great. Okay. The Orions will have no idea what hit them.
I don't know. They looked unnatural. They were all pink.
Unlike the Klingons, we will attack someone from behind or probe them.
I think you're giving the scout ship a reputation it doesn't deserve.
We should be feared. We should be feared.
All right. Fear the probe.
You're being feared for the wrong reasons, are they?
We're just curious.
We're just doing our job.
The most feared doctor in the fleet.
Great.
Hey, at the Grand Tribunal, you show me where I violated the Prime Directive. You show me right here.
Show me on this doll where I violated the Prime Directive.
I was waiting.
I don't know how wanted there are after that.
All right. Well, good show, all. We will.
Good night.